Constitutional Conversations is a series of discussions by America's leading scholars about the principles, framing, ratification, and implementation of constitutional government in the United States. This series is hosted by the James Madison Memorial Fellowship Foundation of Alexandria, Virginia.
The Constitution is silent on the issue of God, except for an oblique reference at the end to "in the year of our Lord," or Anno Domini in the Latin. But that was intentional, and the reason for that is one word that we contemporary Americans aren't very familiar with anymore, and it's the word federalism. Federalism. Now, when we hear the word federal, we tend to think of the national government. We think of the government in Washington, D.C., for example. But when our founders used the word federal or federalism, federal in particular, they meant a sort of confederation, a confederal government, where there were constituent parts, the states, that were very strong actors, in fact, semi-sovereign actors. So they left God out of the Constitution, as it were, because that was a matter for the states. Religion was considered to be a state issue. And during the constitutional period of the 1780s, some of the states had established religions. Massachusetts, for example, Congregationalism was established. Some of the states had no religion. Rhode Island, for example, is a famous case where there was a separation of church and state, as we tend to say nowadays. So religion is under the purview of the states, and that's why it doesn't appear in the federal Constitution, a constitution that creates a regime which is, in James Madison's words, partly federal and partly national. But it falls under what are sometimes called the police powers, health and safety and morals. These were under the control of the states, so religion is a state matter. It's not that the founders were unconcerned about religion or that they thought it was unimportant, but they saw it as a potentially divisive force at the federal level. But more to the point, they thought that was properly under the control of the states. So that's why it doesn't appear in the Constitution.
Constitutional Conversations is made possible by a generous grant from the Fairleigh S. Dickinson Jr. Foundation. Constitutional Conversations is made possible by the James Madison Education Fund.